All right, we are going to get started here. You all watching can't see too much here. You just see a little bit of graffiti that the seniors left yesterday. There is toilet paper everywhere. There are balloons. There is painter's tape. There are a bunch of pictures of me and my wife that have been randomly altered by graffiti artists with good intentions. Anyway, so there's a little bit more of a buzz here today than we're used to. With the senior prank having gone on, there's a massive ball of toilet paper over there. Just put it on the floor for now, Ben.
No.
Let's save it if you need it later. Anyway. You laugh, but as a cross-country runner, one of the worst things you could have happen is shortly before the race, you go to the stadium bathroom, and of course they had a football game the night before, and the toilet paper is gone. That is a bad day. I'll just leave it to your imagination from there, but it is a bad day. So anyway, yeah, so nobody thinks about cleaning up for the cross-country runners. They're the afterthought. Football game, they had the stadium, nice for them, and then it's all trash when cross-country comes through the next day to run. But anyway, so cross-country runners watching on YouTube, I feel your pain. At least during track season, like they didn't have football games, and the soccer games were pretty much done, and the baseball stadium's somewhere else. So, you know, at least track, the bathrooms were okay, but cross-country, that was some rough restrooms that we had to use. Anyway, we in this class have been solving equations lately. And the key to solving equations, let's keep the balloons still. There was also a balloon pit in the stairwell. The key to solving equations, class, is to get the letter by itself. Okay, so a few of us remember that. That's good. Just put it on the floor. We're blending with all the other trash that's on the floor right now. All right. So anyway, get the letter, class, by itself. And so that's what you were doing the first part of the homework here on page 444. As you did 1 through 25, the odd. So go ahead and have that homework out, and then that's done there in the book. Good. Page 444. Oh, I messed it up. Page 444. Do you have it on paper, perhaps?
Yes, it was on the class.
I'll find it quickly so that I can check it. There it is. Good. It's okay. You could have left it there. You didn't have to pull it off necessarily. One of my thoughts is always, how much of this can I leave up so it's still up when the seniors get back? I've got a feeling not much of this is still going to be up, but, you know, we can try. All right. Obviously, at the moment, y'all do. Look at her. She's gathering all the toilet paper.
We don't even have to go and get tissues. It's right there.
That's true. You won't have to get up in the middle of class and get tissues. Y'all don't see this unless you notice me like randomly nodding at people. That's me saying, yeah, go get a tissue. There's all this toilet paper right there. You just fill her up.
People have stepped on that.
I've got a nice long tissue right here myself. We'll pan over there so we can get a good view there. Anyway.
What is that?
And shout out to Dalton of the class of, I don't know how long ago, I feel like it was 2019. It was just before COVID, yeah, so he would have been class of 2019 because COVID hit the end of 2019, early 2020. So, yeah, shout out to Dalton, class of 2019. And
how do you feel about COVID, online classes?
COVID, it was interesting. I learned Zoom because we did Zoom classes for me. So students, instead of watching videos like this, they were actually live interaction with my students. But not everybody has a good internet connection. And so on Zoom, some people had to do the chat instead of video response, which was a lot harder to keep up with. So it was an adventure. I'm glad we're done with those days. All right, number one, from the homework, page 444. We're going to try to get some class done today. Number one, you had to subtract a 5 from both sides. Because what you do to one side, class, you have to do the other. So, what'd you get for number one, Joel? G equals -2. Number three, excuse me. Had to put a positive 15 on both sides. Michael, what'd you get?
I got 6.
Number 3.
20.
Ben, what'd you get for number 3?
-8.
Oh, the pain. Ben, you fell into their trap. Did you show your work or did you do it in your head?
I showed my work.
You showed your work. What'd you put on both sides?
-15 and cross it out, and then -15 on the
Oh, okay, Ben, how do I get rid of a -15? I gotta put a
positive
15. What do I do to one side?
You gotta do that.
Yes, I should have put a positive 15 on both sides. To get anybody?
22.
22. Let's go back to Michael. He needs some redemption here. Michael, number 5. Had to put a positive 4 on both sides. What you got?
Okay, equals 15.
K equals 15. Michael's redeemed. Let's come to Ben, number 7. Now, Ben, we're not ready to get Q by itself yet because on the left hand, or right hand side rather, we got this 6, negative 14. What in the world is 6, negative 14?
It's 10.
No.
Corey?
Corey, 6, negative 14?
6, negative 14.
Number 7. What'd you get when you simplified the right hand side?
Negative 9.
Oh, come on, people. What's 14 minus 6?
8.
8. They learned that in 2nd grade. I think they actually learned it in 1st grade. 14 minus 6 is 8, but we keep the sign of the greater class negative 8. So yeah, just think 14 minus 6, but then keep the sign of the greater, the negative. Now back to Ben. What do I do to get Q by itself?
Positive 17.
On
Class?
both sides. Positive 17 on both sides. And that's going to give us what for our answer here for Q, Ben?
9.
9. Positive 9 is our answer. Let's see, coming over to Corey. Corey, number 9, to get the U by itself. What do we have to put on both sides?
Negative 1.
And that gave us?
U equals negative 10.
U equals negative 10. Number 11. Ew, decimals, but that's okay. What do we have to put on both sides, Bryson?
Yeah, you gotta put on both sides is the positive.
Yes.
Oh, positive 4. Oh yeah, positive 4 and
Point 1. On number 11?
yes, yes, and then you have the pluses on both sides.
Yeah, to get what?
16.4.
Y equals 16.4 is correct. Number 13. What do we got to put on both sides? Griffin.
Positive 1.
Positive 1 to get?
H equals negative 7.
H equals negative 7. Number 15. I first got to simplify the right-hand side. Jalen?
Ow.
She says.
13.
13. And then what do we got to put on both sides once we simplify down to a 13?
Negative 12.
Negative 12 on both sides to get?
1.
T equals 1. All right, was anyone perfect on all 8 of those? Anyone perfect 8 for 8? Anyone 7 out of 8? You only missed 1. Okay, questions on any of those? Do we need to see any of them on the board? I know I showed just a couple. Questions. Yes, ma'am.
So, number 7.
Mm-hmm.
What if, like, you forget to, like, if, let's say, like, for example, I forgot to put, like, the negative sign?
Then you would get the wrong answer, wouldn't you? And that would be very sad. So we want to pay very close attention. All those signed number rules, class, that we learned way back when that we've practiced so often. We practice with like terms, things like that. We've got to make sure we remember those things, don't we? Yeah, good question. Good. Other questions, comments on the equations? Let's come to number 17 now. The word problem, or not much of one, but a little bit of a word problem. Read that for us, if you would, Kirsten.
If a number is decreased by 16, the result is 104. The result is 104. What is the number?
You did it back to back, 104. But what is the number? Well, we don't know the number. So since we don't know the number, class, we said we could represent it with a letter, a variable, right? And Kirsten, what variable would you like to use? K. So we need to translate this then, Kirsten. Instead of saying if a number is decreased by 16, we could say if
K
is decreased by 16. Well, how would I write K decreased by 16?
K minus 16.
There we go. And it says if K is decreased by 16, it says the result is 104. What do I write now?
Equals 104.
Equals 104. How many had this equation? You might have had a different letter than K, but you had some letter minus 16 equals 104. Ooh, only about half of you. Questions? Questions? All right, now what do we have to do to solve for K, to solve for this number, Kirsten?
Change.
Not change, but put a
Positive 16
on
the other side.
On both sides. There, that's what we need to get. Hold on. Put such and such on both sides. Or do this to both sides. Add 16 to both sides, however you want to put it. And so what happens with the positive and negative 16?
They cancel.
To get K is equal to
120.
120. How many did have 120 as your number? Now, reminder, I mentioned this in the last lesson. On quizzes and tests, half the point, so if it's a 10-point quiz problem, 5 of the points are for the equation, 5 of the points for the right answer. So we must not only get the answer, we must also get the equation. So we'll keep working on that in the days ahead. Practice with some inverses on numbers 19 to 25, the odd. Number 19, what has to be added to a negative 67 to get 0? Elaine?
Positive 67.
Positive 67. Number 21, what would we subtract a negative 7 from to get 0? Luciana?
Negative 7.
Another negative 7, because if you ever subtract something minus itself, it always gives you a 0. Or you could think minusing that positive 7 is the same as, or minusing that negative 7 is the same as adding a positive 7. Well, to what would we add a positive 7? A negative 7 to get 0. Number 23, what do we have to multiply 2 ninths by to get 1? Ben?
4 1/2.
You could say 4 1/2. I would actually just leave it in the improper form, 9 halves, but you thought it through and went an extra step above and beyond, 4 1/2. So I would take 4 1/2 or 9 halves, 9 two-ths. And number 25, what do we have to divide a negative 1 by to get a positive 1, Michael? He gets all choked up just thinking about it.
Yeah. -1.
Another negative 1, because if you divide something by itself, it'll give you a 1. Questions on the homework? Questions on the homework? All right. Go ahead and turn over to, or look across the page rather, page 445. We're going to be solving some more equations, but this time, here. Don't use it all in one. Don't spend it all in one place. All right. All right, let's take a look at page 445. We're going to be solving equations now that involve multiplication. So far, all of our problems, class, have been, we'll just use X for illustration, but some letter positive something equals whatever, or some letter negative something equals whatever. And if it was a positive class, we would put a negative on both sides. So you could say we'd subtract from both sides. If it was a negative class, we would put a positive to something on both sides, or add to both sides. But if there's multiplication that's involved, for instance, look at the little blue shaded box at the top of page 445. They've got 3x equals 6. Do you see, class, that this 3 is not added to the x? So the opposite of the 3 isn't to subtract the 3 away. Class, what's going on between the 3 and the x since they're up against each other? Multiplication. They're being multiplied by each other. And what's the opposite of multiplication?
Division.
Division. We always do the opposite. It says positive 8, I put negative 8. It says negative 8, I put positive 8. It says times 3, class. I put divided by 3. But how do we show division in algebra? Fraction bar. So we just put a fraction bar and put it over 3, and the 3's cancel. Just like a negative 8 would cancel with a positive 8, or a positive 8 would cancel with a negative 8. So a 3 being multiplied and a 3 being divided cancel. But what you do to one side? So if I divide 3 on the left, I also have to divide 3 on the right. That gives me an x that is isolated. It is by itself, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Look at the problem in the blue shaded box now, the example 11.2a. They give us a negative 5x equals 35. Well, to cancel a 3 that's being multiplied, class, we said we divide away a 3. Because if you divide something by itself, it cancels. We have to do the same thing here. What do I divide by to get rid of this negative 5, class? Another negative 5. Now again, if this were negative 5 plus x, I put a positive 5 to cancel it. But this is being multiplied, so we have to divide, and you divide by itself. The negatives cancel, and the 5's cancel. What do I do to one side? So I'm going to divide a negative 5 on the other side. Well, what is, be careful, 35 divided by negative 5? Negative 7. Be careful with your signed numbers. Look at the next one. We've got a y fourths equals 2 times 6. Well, just like before, we said if there's something on the other side that needs to be simplified, let's simplify it down. 2 times 6, class, that just gives us 12. So let's not stress over that. Just simplify the right-hand side very easily, the side without the variable or the letter. Well, right here, this isn't multiplication they're showing. What are they showing, class? Division. They're dividing by 4. What's the opposite of division? If they show multiplication, we divide. If they show division, we will multiply. And we'll multiply by 4. Dividing by 4, multiply by 4. What we do to one side, so we're going to multiply by 4 on the other side. Do you see that this 4 and this 4 cancel? Multiplication, division, cancel. You could also think of this as a 4 over 1, a numerator 4, a denominator 4 cancel, if you wanted to think of it that way. And so we get our answer of y is equal to
48.
48. Do we see how to clear if it shows multiplication, use division? If it shows division, use multiplication. Question, Ben?
On y over 4,
Mhm.
couldn't you just say that 4 times 12 instead of...
That's what I did.
extra?
I multiplied by the 4 to get, and I also multiplied a 4 over here.
I mean, just like, not write the extra 4 and just do...
You're asking, could I just do it in my head?
Yeah.
Could I just look at this, for instance, and be like, look, I know I'm going to multiply 4 on both sides. Let me just say 12 times 4 is 48. You could, now I'll say this, let's suppose for whatever reason your brain glitched and you're like, yeah, 4 times 12, that's 36. Yeah, you're human, it could happen. So I would suggest if you only show the times 4, then if your brain does glitch on what that is and for some reason you put 36, you'd still get most of the credit because you showed me you knew what to do. Sure, you had a brain glitch, whatever, you're human, but you know what to do. So I would suggest showing the step, but I mean, I'm not going to mark it wrong. And the higher up you go, I'm going to actually start discouraging you from showing work and doing more in your head. But we're only in 7th grade, so I'm encouraging you to show more work. But believe me, I will allow you to be more lazy in the days ahead, days to come. Look down at the very bottom of the page. They've got this problem. Let's try that again. 2/3 x equals 4. Now, technically, class, what is going on between the 2/3 and the x? Multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication, class, is division. I should divide away 2/3. That just looks nasty, doesn't it? But do we ever really divide fractions, class?
No.
Even if we had a problem that told us to divide the fractions, we always multiply by the
Reciprocal.
So the faster way to get rid of this, rather than divide away the 2/3, is to multiply by 3/2, 3/2, right? That allows the 2's to cancel and the 3's to cancel, and there's our x. But what we do to one side, so if I multiply by the reciprocal 3/2 over here, then on this side I also have to multiply by the reciprocal 3/2. Strategy tip, let's put the 4 class over 1. And then we can see a little more canceling, can't we?
1, 2.
And so our answer is 6. So in some instances, if there's a fraction being multiplied, rather than dividing the fraction, like dividing by -5, no big deal. Divide by 3, no big deal. Dividing by 2/3 just looks awful. Don't do that. Multiply by the reciprocal. Questions on these? All right, let me have you try a few of these. If we have some struggles, that's okay. We'll work through them. But let's try just a few of these. Flip over to page 446. I want you to do just 1 through 6 on pages 446 to 447. Pages 446 to 447. Don't go past that, because if we're making mistakes, I want to catch them and fix them. So just do 1 through 6 on those first couple pages. We'll take a look at them here in just a moment and see if we're on the right track, and then we'll progress to more. So we'll end up getting these all done. Just don't work ahead on me here. It says multiply, you divide. It says divide, you multiply. Do the opposite to get the letter by itself. Yes, ma'am. Well, you have to divide by itself, right? So, yeah, you know, that's a negative z plus, or negative 15 plus z. You'd have to do the opposite of negative 15. But you're trying to divide by itself. Yes, ma'am. We'll just combine like terms. Right, we saw one of those the other day too, where there was a couple of x's together. Just combine them. They're like terms. So combine them first. I always try to simplify before we do anything else. Before we get a letter by itself, make sure we've simplified. few people already finished. Yes, sir. What?
I want to get it.
You do want to get that. Me too. I'll leave it for now, though. All right, pencils down. Even if you're not completely finished with all of these, let's take a look at the first problem, 8y equals 72. Is there anything I can simplify first of all, class? No, there's nothing like that can be combined or anything weird like that. So we just want to get the letter by itself. And right now, what is with the letter, class? 8. But what's going on between the 8 and the y? Class, they are being multiplied. So to get rid of the 8, I have to do the opposite. I must divide by 8. Divide by exactly what you see, right? Because dividing something by itself is the inverse property, right? Divide something by itself and it cancels. So we divide by 8, they cancel. Class, I'm left with y. 1y technically, but just y, right? On the other side, though, what I do to one side? So on the other side, I also have to divide by 8. And when I divide by 8, I get 9. And there's our answer. How many of y equals 9? Look at the next one. I've got 1 equals v over 12. Can I simplify anything, combine anything together? No. But I do see v over 12. Is the letter by itself? No, there's a 12 with it, right? If this is the wall, remember, that separates the two rooms, the 12 is in your, the little brother's in your room, or big brother. Actually, he on senior trip. So anyway, I got the whole house. Anyway, so we gotta get the v by itself. We gotta kick out this 12. What's going on between the v and the 12 right now, class? Division. How do I get rid of the 12 if it's currently being divided? Multiply. That's the opposite. Multiply by 12. And as soon as I multiply by 12, what happens to them, class? They're gone. So I'm just left with v. On the other side, though, I also have to multiply by 12. Because what you do to one side, and so I end up getting here 12 equals v. How many of 12 equals v or v equals 12? Questions on that one? Look at the next one. Can I simplify anything? Yes. Now the first two I couldn't. Here I can. We know, because we've done a lot with combining like terms lately, that a 4x and a 2x combine to give us a 6x. Don't try to get one of these letters, divide away the 4, combine first. And now, one easy number to get rid of, class. I just have to get rid of that 6. What's going on between the 6 and the x? Multiplication. How do I get rid of it then? Division. Divide by 6. And what I do to one side, and I'm going to get x is equal to 7. Remember, keep your work nice and neat. Keep that equal sign lined up. Make it look good. How many had x equals 7 for your answer? Any questions on that one especially, that combining thing first? Does that make sense? Look at the next one. We just looked at an example where we have a fraction being multiplied. Technically, since the fraction's being multiplied, class, to get rid of the fraction, I should do what? Divide it. But do we really divide fractions? No. We multiply the reciprocal. So I need to multiply this 1/2 p by 2 over 1. And the 2's cancel, we could argue the 1's cancel, and we're just left with p. But what I do to one side,
You gotta do it to the other.
so the other side also needs to be multiplied by
2.5.
2 over 1, or just 2, right? I had a 1/2 p, I multiplied by 2 over 1. So here I got to multiply by 2 over 1. And, I mean, if I wanted to put it over 1, I guess I could. I'm just going to get p equals 8. How many of p equals 8? All right, questions on that? Look at the next one. Oh, the z's over here this time. What's with the z, class? Negative 15. Now again, it's not being subtracted. If this said z minus 15, I'd put a positive 15 to cancel it. Or even if it said negative 15 plus z, I'd put a positive 15 to cancel it. But it's not a separate term. It's being multiplied. So to get rid of it, I have to divide. And I have to divide by negative 15. If you only divide by 15, then the negative doesn't cancel. Do we see that? We need another negative so that negative and negative cancel to give me an understood positive. the 15s also cancel, giving me just z. But what I do to one side,
Got this other.
so the other side I also going to divide by a negative 15. And 30 divided by negative 15, class, gives us negative 2. How many had negative 2 for your answer here? All right, questions on that one with the negative. I know that's another thing that can trip people up. Questions, comments? All right, look at the last one here. Want to get the z by itself. What is with the z, class?
9.
The 9. But right now the 9 is being divided. So to get rid of it, I have to multiply. Both sides by 9. 9 and 9 cancel. I'm left with z. 9 times 6, class. 54. How many had z equals 54? Go sit up nice and tall there, Joel. Okay, questions on this? Anyone go 6 for 6? Anyone 6 for 6 on these? Couple of you. How about 5 out of 6? Just missed 1. All right, 4 out of 6, just missed 2. All right, not bad. Questions? Do we feel we understand them better now that we had a chance to try them? Even if we didn't get them all perfect, we understand it better? All right, I want you to go on to 7 through 12 now. Now go on to 7 through 12.
Bless you.
Several students finishing up. Take about 30 seconds longer though. Then we'll go over these. Let's take a look at number 7. And this is a trap. It is designed to mess you up. Because everything inside you wants to be, yeah, I got this. I'm just going to divide both sides by 4. Wait a second. The 4 ain't the problem, right? Right? That's the sibling who's in their room minding their own business, right? With the headphones on. They're not bothering you. What's the problem, class? It ain't the 4, it's the 12. That's what has to be divided from both sides. And of course the 12s cancel, but this is not 12 divided by 4. It is 4 twelfths. which reduces class to 1/3. First of all, how many fell into the trap and you put 3 for your answer? Yeah, several of you. How many said, nope, I got it, I got 1/3? How many left it as 4/12? So you at least weren't fooled, but you didn't think to reduce. All right, so anyway, questions on that? That is a tricky one. Look at the next one. What's our shortcut? What are we actually going to do to get rid of this 13/17? Jalen?
Multiply it by 17/13.
Multiply by 17/13 so that we can cancel stuff away. But that means, on the other side, Jalen, I also have to multiply by.
17/13.
And it wouldn't hurt if I went ahead and put that 26 over
Oh, 1.
1. There we go. Now, it allows me to do a little bit of canceling. We didn't memorize our 13 times tables, but I don't think that affected us. I think even without memorizing them, we know, class, that 26 is 13 times 2. So I think we could all cancel those cleanly. We get a nice, easy whole number here, Jalen. What did you get on number 8?
Actually, I was working that one out.
You were still working out. Kirsten?
34.
34. Y equals 34, our answer. How many had that on this one here? You multiplied by that reciprocal, as Jalen said. Good, look at the next one. I am not ready to get C by itself yet. I need to do a little simplifying first. The 20 plus 80, first of all, Michael, gives us 100. So let's simplify it down to get 20C equals 100. Now we can get the C by itself, Michael, by doing what?
Dividing,
By
20,
on
both sides.
both sides. Good. The 20s cancel, and just think, $100 divided by $20 bills. How many $20 bills does it take to make a hunch?
5.
$500 bills. And, or $5 $20 bills. Oh, $500 bills, that's even better. How many got 5? C equals 5 on number 9. All right, now looking at the next one here, I want to show you a little bit of a shortcut. Technically, class, what is the coefficient of B?
1.
-1, right? Technically, this is a -1. So to get B by itself, I would have to divide away, class, the -1, right? And when I do, the negatives cancel, the 1s cancel, I get my B by itself. And class, -11 divided by -1 gives us positive 11. But, shortcut. Because I'm lazy. Rather than wasting my time showing that I'm dividing by a -1, done. Allow the negative on both sides to cancel. If both sides are negative, cancel the negatives. You might want to write that in your notes. If both sides are negative, cancel the negatives. It just makes your life a little easier. It's one less thing to worry about. If both sides are negative, cancel the negatives. Just a little bit of a shortcut. It works because you're technically going to divide a -1 from both sides, but it's just a quicker way to get it done. Look at this next one, though. -S24 equals 2. What is going on, class, between the S and the 24?
Division.
Division, right? So the opposite of division, class, is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply by a 24. Let me erase this so we don't get the two problems running into each other. And what I do to one side, so I got to do the other. Now, here's the problem, class. That's a 4 and a parenthesis mixed in one. The 24s will cancel, right? But am I left with just S? What am I left with if those 24s cancel? Negative S. How would I cancel a negative? Put another negative, right? So if I multiply by not 24, but by -24, negative times negative, positive, they cancel. And 24 and 24 also cancel. So rather than multiplying by just 24, also multiply a negative to knock this one out. That means over here, we have to multiply by the -24. We haven't seen anything quite like that yet. Does that make sense? And so now we would get S equals, class, -48, because we had to multiply that negative as well. Or, if you just multiplied the 24 and you still had that negative with the S, it'd be -S equals 48. And then I could change both signs. Kind of like I showed a moment ago, except there I was canceling the two negatives. Here, change both signs. So a couple of ways we could approach that. Questions on that, because we hadn't done one like that yet. We'll see a couple more of those, but questions. Let's look at the next one. Oh, look at this, class. Both sides are negative. So what can I do?
Make a positive.
Cancel them. Now it's a one step easier, right? It's just one less thing to worry about. Joel, what do I do to get T by itself?
Multiply 2.
Multiply a 2. And what I do to one side? Here, multiply the other side by 2 is, well, what happens to these 2's, class? They cancel to just give me t. And over here, Joel, we get t equals 16. How many t equals 16 for the last one? All right, questions on these? Questions on these? Yes, ma'am.
It was negative. Oh wait, no.
Right, we canceled the 2 negatives. Yep, does that make sense? Good. Any other questions, comments? All right, tackle 13 to 21 now. Finish it up. 13 to 21. Finish out the page. 13 to 21. Pencil in your hand, Ben. Oh, you've got a pen, I see it. Okay. Well, you can't cross it out until you do what first? What makes it cross out? It's being what? Well, not right now. Right now it's being. So to get rid of it, I do. Right. Because that means over here I also have to by. There we go. Middle name's already finished. We'll see if the right answers or not in a minute, but they're finished. Corey's finished. Finished. Take another minute or so to work on these. Remember, simplify what you can first before you try to get the letter by itself. Jalen finished. All right, let's take a look at these together. Pencils down, even if you're not finished yet. Work. All right, pencils down, even if you're not finished. Looking at number 13, did we start by combining negative 100 and positive 4? For instance, let's suppose Michael borrows $100 from Bryson, and he owes Bryson $100. And he's like, pay it back when you can, because Bryson's a good friend like that. And Michael's like, the next day, he's like, hey, I got $4, let me pay you back. Well, he's paid back He's paid back a little bit of it, class. How much does he still owe? He still owes $96, right? Bryson is still out $96. How many combined to get a negative 96 right here? And then hopefully you realize, well, it's 12 times n, so class, we need to divide away the
Negative 12.
12 from both sides, and that's going to give us n is equal to, Bryson?
8. Negative 8.
Negative 8. There we go. How many have negative 8? 4, number 13. Look at number 14. We need to start by simplifying. 4 times negative 4, Luciana? Negative 16. Well, both sides are negative, Luciana. What can I do?
Change them into positive.
Yep. Cancel them away. Just change them both into positives. And now again, would it be wrong to go ahead and divide both sides by negative 4? No, that would have been fine. But I'd rather just divide both sides by 4. Just makes my life that little bit easier. Allow the 4's to cancel, and we get Q equals 4. How many Q equals 4 on number 14? Q equals 4 on number 14. Look at the next one, number 15. Ben, we need to start by combining the negative 6 and positive 9 to get 3. And then I need to get rid of this 15. And the 15's being, Ben, this fraction word tells me it's being divided. So to get rid of it, I need to multiply both sides by 15. That'll make the times 15 and the divided by 15. Cross out, cancel, leaving me with a equals 3 times 15, which is? 45. How many at a equals 45 on number 15? Looking at number 16. Ooh, we need to start by squaring this negative 2, but we must be careful. Griffin, what is negative 5 squared?
50.
Oh, not looking for the answer yet. But what do we get if we square a negative 5?
25.
Positive 25, right? Because negative times another negative would be positive. So that gives us k number 2 equals 25. Now, Griffin, to get the k by itself, now that we've simplified, get the k by itself. Right now, what's going on?
Division.
Dividing by
2.
So to get rid of the divided by 2,
Multiply by 2.
multiply by 2 on both sides. Here, the 2 and divided by 2 are going to?
4.
Oh, careful. The times 2 and the divided by 2?
Oh.
Cancel.
Yeah.
To just give me
Okay.
k. And on the other side, I do get k equals
50.
50, which is, I think, the answer you gave me a moment ago. How many k equals 50 on number? I think this is 16 here. Questions on this one? Anyone have negative 50? You forgot that the negative times negative would give you positive. Okay, be careful with that. Easy mistake to make. Looking at the next one here, Corey, I can actually simplify on both sides, can't I? Right here, 5x plus 5x combines to give
10x.
And on the other side, I can simplify a negative 2 times 20.
Negative 40.
Negative 40. Now I'm ready to get x by itself. What's with the x?
10.
That's being currently,
Multiply.
so to get rid of it, I need to
Divide.
by
10.
on,
Both sides.
and that's going to give me, as we cancel here, x is equal to
Negative 4.
negative 4. Great job. How many had negative 4 on number whatever that was? All right, 17 was it? All right,
Yeah.
questions on number 17? All right, looking at number 18. Ooh, 7d over 10 equals 35. Do you see, class, that really it's just the fraction 7/10? And to get rid of a 7/10, I could multiply by the reciprocal, which is what, Elaine?
10 over 7.
10/7. How many just multiplied by 10/7? You didn't let it throw you off, just, hey, 10/7, because I know that'll cancel the 10 and the 7 and leave me with D. But what I do to one side, class?
You have to
Yeah.
remember.
So on the other side, Elaine, I also have to multiply by
10/7.
10/7. Oh, I heard an echo, Elaine plus echo. And I'm going to put the 35 over 1, Elaine, that's going to allow me to cancel
7 and 35.
to get,
1 and 5.
so I end up getting D equals
50.
50 for my answer. How many had that on number 18? D equals 50. Questions on that one? Looked a little different. Instead of 7/10 D, they did 7D over 10. Means the same thing though. Questions? Look at the next one. Technically, what do we call this thing, class?
Ratio.
Well, it's actually two equal ratios. We call it a proportion.
Proportion.
Yeah, we have a little proportion going on here. We're going to talk more about proportions a little bit later, but for now, I'm not going to look at this as a proportion. I'm going to look at this as 121 divided by 11. Now, that's what the fraction bar really means, and we know what 121 divided by 11 is, Jalen. 11. So we're going to think of this as r thirds equals 11. Simplify that right-hand side. Now, Jalen, to get the r by itself, what do I got to do?
Multiply it by 3.
Multiply by 3 on
Both sides.
both sides. If I multiply by 3 on both sides, I can cancel these 3's to get r equals 33. How many have that from number 19? R equals 33. Look at the next one. I got some simplification to do, but I've got a couple different things. I've got a subtraction and I've got an exponent. Which of these must happen first, Kirsten?
Exponent.
The exponent. So I need to first simplify 3 squared, which is 9. So I've got a g7 equals 8 minus 9, or 8 negative 9. Now I can do the subtraction or the negative here. What is 8 minus 9 or 8 negative 9, Kirsten?
1.
Keep the sign of the greater.
Negative 1.
Negative 1. So I've got g7 equals negative 1. Now we're finally ready to get the letter by itself. Simplify first, then get the letter by itself, Kirsten. What do I have to do to get g by itself?
Multiply 7 times 7.
Well, not 7 times 7, but multiply this thing, g over 7 times 7, so that the 7 and the denominator 7 cancel. Or the times 7 and divided by 7 cancel. There's the g. But on the other side,
We have to do the same.
multiply by
7.
to get
7. Or
negative 7 for our answer here. How many had negative 7 for number 20? And for those who made it this far, let's take a look at 21. And what do we have to do to get this w by itself? Luciana?
Multiply by 4/3.
Multiply by 4/3. 3's cancel, 4's cancel. I'm just left with w. But over here, I also have to multiply by 4/3. I ran myself out of room at the edge of the chalkboard here. Put the 27 over 1 here, Luciana. We can cancel 27 and 3 to get 1 and 9. And so our answer is 36. And how many had that for the last one, those who made it all the way to the end? Questions on these equations? Any questions on these equations? Yes, sir.
So for the proportion, could we have done it and still got the same answer?
Yes, yeah. If you had cross-multiplied the proportion, you would have gotten the same correct answer. Yep, good question. All right, other questions? All right, your homework for this evening is to do page 448. Page 448. Numbers 1 through 22. Page 448, numbers 1 through 22. We'll be taking a look at that in our next lesson as we wrap up this discussion of equations. Page 448, then the homework. Do numbers 1 through 22. You are dismissed.
Don't count it.
I can reach it.